First of all, welcome, Josna Govilji. Thank you so much for taking out time to be with us today. Uh, you know, we were together in the oncology summit last year, and
Mhm.
we were talking about various aspects of cancer. But this time, let me begin by asking you, how did Indian Cancer Society begin? What was the prompt? What was the trigger, and how did it all begin?
Harbinder, our founder, I think you already know, is Miss Dr. Jassawala from the Tata Memorial Hospital in Mumbai. He started Indian Cancer Society in 1951. Now, please remember that's only 4 years after independence. And he realized that as a surgeon, he could treat people, all the crowds that were pouring into Tata Memorial, but he was catching them at late stage cancer, stage 3 and 4, when treatment was difficult and more expensive. So I happened to be there. I mean, I got to meet him only in 1984. And at that time, he said to me that I can, his favorite phrase, cut/burn all my life, but I won't reach the last man unless you people get together and start an awareness program, a preventive screening program, so that we got our patients in good time. From 1951 to 1984, ICS only existed in Mumbai. He had the support of Mr. Naval Tata, who gave us the beautiful building that we operate out of in Mumbai. But it came to Delhi in 1984, and that is when my association began. So we also started with awareness and preventive screening.
Mhm.
And subsequently, when a wonderful person by name of Harmala Gupta, whom I think you know, came back after treatment in Canada and realized the total lack of emotional support for cancer patients. So we went into that in a very big way, using cancer survivors to talk to people in hospitals and, excuse me, and give them the hope. Our survivors were living symbols of hope. When I tell you about 1991, there were no hospitals in Delhi. It was just general hospitals doing general surgery one moment and a major cancer surgery the next. It was a different world to what we have today, with so many hospitals in Delhi and NCR.
Love it. Awesome. And Ms. Govil, how rapidly is cancer growing as a medical problem in India? Is there some perspective that you can share with us in today's date and age?
Thank you for not asking me for numbers because I'm very bad at them. Yes, I can share my perspective with you. Cancer is a growing problem, but if you look at the great advances that have been made in this field, so it's a very mixed picture because on the one hand, we are realizing that awareness has grown. People now recognize early signs of cancer, therefore, they flood to hospitals. There are new treatments, then they read about it, they see it on television, they have smartphones that they use to access Google and so on. They realize that they need to be seen by a doctor. So the diagnosis of cancer has grown, but I don't believe that the death rates have grown equally. It is there, of course, there is more, all the problems of disease, but I don't believe that that many people have died as would have if there was no awareness, if there was no new ways of treatment, and there was no support.
You
I'll
know,
give you a concrete example. Yesterday, a friend called to say that a 7-year-old boy in Kashmir needed a liver transplant. She called Delhi. Delhi called me in Bangalore. My son happens to be a liver transplant surgeon. He gave his advice, and we've got back to the boy or his parents. Would it have happened 20 years ago? I doubt it. So, in this age when communication is easy, we need to learn it correctly.
absolutely. I think this is very, very important. It's also very promising to understand that while the cancer per se is increasing, but the number
Mhm.
of mortality has gone down, which
Mhm.
means it is being detected at an early stage. So the awareness is definitely working. But while I say that,
Yes.
Jyotsnaji, have you been able to understand? So we know scientifically what happens to the cells within the body, which causes
Mm.
cancer. But what is causing that havoc in the cells is something. Are we close to understanding what is causing this cancer in our body?
I think everyone has their theories, Harvinderji. We are very fond of blaming Western diet creeping into India. We talk about the dangers of pizzas and burgers and so on, but we forget our own paratha and puri and all the fried stuff that we eat. Yes, lifestyle is definitely one of the reasons that cancer could be growing. But on the other hand, I mean, everyone aspires to be doing what they consider the gold standard of the West. You and I may not agree, but that is how it is. And if they want to eat the odd burger or the pizza, no problem. But if it is a daily diet, yes, it is a problem. A sedentary lifestyle is a problem. We are sitting more than we are moving nowadays. And if we can lie down, we do that even faster. None of it helps in our good health. And if we are aware, as we try to keep telling people that if you could only move, if you could only eat sensibly, and our Indian diet is probably the most beneficial of all, and we should be exporting it around the world. Dal hai, sabzi hai, dahi hai, carbs hai, everything is there. But we leave that and go and eat a completely unbalanced food somewhere else. And we think that that is what we should be aspiring to.
Got it. And Jyotsnaji, you've been dealing with a lot of cancer patients, survivors. Is there any understanding of what uh, you think is the biggest problem that the cancer patients face in India?
I often think of this whole thing about cancer in terms of a large jigsaw puzzle. The patient is at the center of it, right? The caregiver, the family surrounds him or her. But we keep adding pieces to that puzzle. There is the medical provider, there is the media provider of information, there is the pharma provider of medication, there are the researchers, I mean, you name it, everybody has jumped in on this bandwagon. And the piece that signifies the patient gets smaller and smaller. if we, God forbid, punch that patient out of the picture, the rest of the picture would collapse like a pack of cards or like a jigsaw would.
What we were discussing was that, uh, what do you think is the biggest problem that a cancer patient is facing today?
It's not just one problem that the cancer patient is facing, but I will always start with awareness. When you feel strange things in your body and you can't figure out how serious it is, and everyone tells you cancer has no pain, etc., etc., do you go to a doctor who dismisses you out of hand? And I'm not talking about the urban clientele. I'm talking about the person in the boondocks, whom everyone seems to write off as less than intelligent, which is, to my mind, a big mistake. They have to be taken seriously. So, can they then show something that says, this is what I have heard, and this is what I feel, and now please look at me carefully?
Great. And when we talk about advocacy, ma'am, advocacy is happening and advocacy is seemingly helping as well. We spoke about it that people are more aware, people are going in for preventive screening, and we are able to now move towards a scenario where a lot of the cancers are detected much early so that the doctors can do something about it.
Right.
But I think we still are doing enough advocacy, or do you think there is much more to happen? And this is just, what we are seeing from as we typically call it, the tip of the iceberg.
We're a big country, and everybody's reality is different. So, if you send a doctor from Delhi, as an example, to a village in, say, Mizoram, does that doctor know what the reality of living in Mizoram is? Is he able to empathize with what the patient is telling him? Or does he treat this as a punishment posting? He has to do ABC, which is listed on his appointment letter or whatever. I think that the sensitization of the medical community is still lagging behind the awareness that is growing within each community. There are many of us, including the Indian Cancer Society, when we create an app for information content, for resource management, for giving ideas on diet, nutrition, law, finance, we do it in many languages. I'm not saying we reach all the 26 or I don't know how many hundreds of languages that Indians speak, but at least it reaches out to the major language groups in the country. So the community will probably get the information in good time, but it is very likely that the medical community will write off the app as saying that it's only an NGO that has produced it. That kind of ego differentiation will have to be bridged if we are to work towards one goal, utilizing our resources to the best of our ability. Going back to our app, we are suggesting that the doctor perhaps does not have the time to explain to each patient and work around the questions in that person's mind. So if he would only put aside his ego and tell his patient, please listen, you'll get most of your answers here. Then if you have more questions, which you're bound to have, then please come back to us and we'll do the best we can.
Fantastic. But, ma'am, this is when people get detected with cancer. Many of us do not even go and watch or listen to or consume content around cancer and many other diseases until we are facing the problem. But the larger issue is when people become aware of what the disease is and what it does and how it could be prevented or managed despite you not having it. So that the biggest challenge that I have observed while I speak to all of you is to get over the fear of the word cancer. Because and until about a decade ago or 2 decades ago, cancer was equal to death.
Yeah.
Today, fortunately, like you had this book that got published, we still are saying that cancer may be leading to still hope. But how can we get the fear out of it so that more and more people are motivated, inspired to go for their tests without having any problem?
God bless Google. They have such an ocean of information, misinformation, mixed up facts, mixed up myths. But people love it. So they keep referring to Google and getting some kind of an answer. When they go onto social media, they don't go to the serious sites. They go to Twitter, they go to Instagram, things like that, where everything is broken down, dumbed down, colorful, attractive, and given in little bits and pieces. And okay, they may or may not get the right information, but they're getting some idea of what cancer is. And then when they call us, we are able to tell them to separate the fact from fiction, to separate the myth from reality, try to take away the stigma. All that we can do as much easier when we already have that content on Twitter and so on. We now have a young team, girls under 30, who are very familiar with how to use this. So if you look at our sites, you'll find that there are many things that we tell you about, which may seem non-serious, but which lead to a serious issue. So we can't be pontificating, if I might use that word. We can't be preaching to people because nobody wants to listen. And your Panditji sitting at a havan will be told, Panditji, zara jaldi karo. So we need to learn that and do it that way.
Got it. And what do you think is the role of the doctors, the oncologists, in spreading this information? Like you said, they don't have time. I mean, unfortunately or fortunately, we are living in a nation where we have a huge population, which means even a small percentage of that population, if it is dealing with cancer, they're still dealing with a large number of patients. Our doctors are working very, very long hours compared to their peers in the West. They're working under a lot of pressure because we have patients from all strata who are coming in. People's understanding varies from their backgrounds, so they're under a lot of pressure. But how can we involve them despite their busy schedules to share information? Because at the end of the day, information that comes from them is more trusted because they are the ones who know the science behind it.
Yeah. This is one of the gifts that COVID gave us. Till then, I don't think anyone thought about webinars, these kind of virtual meetings, virtual interviews seriously. Occasionally, we did something and we thought we were very with it. We were not. But we all learned how to use social media. We learned how to use the digital world. we are using all those platforms and we are inviting doctors to join us. We don't want them to leave their hospital, their homes, their comfort zones. We stick a laptop in front of them or a camera in front of them and they talk to us. And we broadcast that through our webinars, through our various tools. I don't know if you're aware of a Government of India platform called Swayam. It's a self-learning platform where you can learn at your own pace. During the pandemic, we spoke with about 40, I think the number was, oncologists, mostly in Delhi, but occasionally from outside. And they were so generous with their time because they had the time to talk, to explain, to do whatever. And we went and filmed them. And all of that is put onto our Swayam course on cancer fundamentals. It's in very simple language, nothing complicated that, I mean, if a Dumbo like me can understand it, everyone else can. Yeah. And we are finding that that has become very popular right across India. We have participants who are doctors themselves who do the course and come back to us and say, we have gained from this because now we talk to our patients in a different language. And if it is helping to spread that message, and if it is encouraging participants to come back to us and say, how can we help you to grow this message? Then I think we're doing something right.
Thank you so much for sharing your perspective.
I use the example of a jigsaw puzzle. We're all part of that puzzle. None of us have complete answers.
Correct.
But somewhere together we can do a lot of good.
Absolutely.
But we're each caught up in our own little bubble. We talk in verticals. We don't talk laterally, and that is where the most troubling things are about medicine.
I totally agree with you, ma'am. And that's what we are trying to solve through our, the cancer summit that we do, where our effort is to get everybody from the ecosystem to come onto a single platform and speak to the cancer patients, survivors, and the caregivers. And that's our little that we do. And thank you so much for supporting us all the time. And Ms. Gobel, thank you so much for taking out time to speak with us today, despite your health and you're traveling to Bangalore. You're taking out time, means a lot to us.
Thank you very much, Harbinder. Thank you for remembering us at all times. And please continue with getting this message out.
Always. Thank you.